What's up, guys? In today's video I'll be reviewing the Star Wars Black Series Revenge of the Sith Clone Commander Cody. I really wish I would have got some of the other figures in this wave, but this is the only one I got. I ended up getting this one probably about a week and a half ago, possibly 2 weeks. This one was pretty pricey. I think it was $24.99 off the top of my head. And to the end of the video, I'll be comparing him to my Archive Wave Cody, which I did get a couple years ago, and I did do a review of that one, and I'll probably put either the link in the description below or somewhere here in the video. Definitely a must pick up in my opinion, if you guys are able to get it fairly cheap. But like I said, that was the Archive Wave. But here we have the new Revenge of the Sith figure. I really was pretty hesitant to open this one, to be honest, just because this is such a nice packaging. I didn't get this figure when it first released, and it is somewhat of a retro wave, or at least a retro figure. Here we have Clone Commander Cody with his actual head sculpt, his helmet, of course, Darth Sidious Order 66, and his typical blaster, which I'm not sure exactly what the name is. You know, they have this weird name, D12 or whatever. I don't even know. I don't care about the weapons, but here we got the figure Clone Commander Cody, one of my favorite clones in my opinion. Besides Rex, obviously I do have him in the Hot Toys, and Rex in the Hot Toys because they're my favorite figures. But looking at this box, a nice bubbled box. You got Darth Vader's cut out in the back. You got Obi-Wan and Anakin here in the background. You got the fire or the lava for Mustafar, of course. The Revenge of the Sith logo. Now I'm gonna try my best to not ruin this box because I love collecting the boxes for the figures that I love, and this one will be one of them. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up, preserve the box the best we can, which I think in my Archive Wave I have the cutout of Cody. I have it somewhere, and I don't even know if I have the box, but this one for sure I'll be trying to keep. So we were able to preserve that box, that nice looking box, and we do have a tray shot of Cody right here. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the accessories first, of course. I'll try my best not to make this video a little bit too long, but here we do have the Emperor. You guys can see, got the hologram right there. Pretty nice. It's actually my first one. I don't know if they really make this that often. I'm going to put him here to the side so you guys can see what that looks like. And of course, Cody does come with a blaster because all clones do come with some sort of blaster. Not sure if this is the exact same mold from previous clones that I have, but we're not really going to go ahead and compare that right there. But overall, as far as accessories, we do have both of these pieces right here, which I don't mind that. And of course, we have Clone Commander Cody's Phase 2 helmet. Now, what does kind of suck is that this helmet is slightly different from the Archive Wave. Now, I'm not sure exactly why they did such a weird design, because I kind of like the helmet on the other one. Not sure if they had to redesign this one in order to make it removable, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at the helmet. So you guys can see that the helmet does have some pretty good details. Now, when you guys look at it, okay, it looks pretty good, pretty cool, pretty much accurate from the most part. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just the coloring, maybe why I probably don't like it. I'm not sure. It kind of gives me like a faded orange with a faded gray. And then also the blue is pretty bright. It just looks like something that was just sitting out in the sun and got like a slight fade. But overall, I believe the molding is probably the same, or maybe some slight improvements. But as far as the paint application and the color of the orange visor, it is slightly different. Just wanted to point that out. So let's go ahead and look at Cody first, and we're going to look at him with the helmet on. So here we have Clone Commander Cody. I'm going to try not to make this review a little bit too long, only because, you know, we're going to do a comparison towards the end of the video. You guys do see that head sculpt, which is actually pretty nice in my opinion. A lot better than the Rex one that they did for the Ahsoka series, which I don't have that on me right now. I already put it up in display, so I might either get it sometime towards the end of this video, or I might do another video of just going over the figures altogether, which I think that might be the most ideal thing. But the head sculpt looks great in my opinion. I do like it. I appreciate it. It's not too glossy, not too matte. Overall, fairly nice. You guys can see that the armor Phase 2 has like beat up or just paint damages on here, which I do appreciate that as well. You guys can see that the belt has different colors, and you guys can see the molding right here as well. Looks pretty great. He has his accent design right here on it. On the back, he does have his backpack, I guess, is non-removable. You can't take it off. Not sure if other figures in the past you could remove this backpack. I know in the Battle Batch you could. The Archive Wave one you really can't. You guys have that little thing right here in the back of the design on the belt. Overall, really not too bad. We're gonna go ahead and put on his helmet real quick to see how smooth the helmet gets put on, and it seems a little rough. Okay, there we go. Looks pretty good in my opinion. A little bulky-ish, but I really can't complain because it is removable. I know when they make them non-removable, obviously it's gonna look a little more sleeker, but overall I cannot complain whatsoever. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the articulation of Cody. He is a clone, so you're gonna have some kind of expectations of him having a decent amount of articulation, but sometimes Hasbro does fail us. So he does have single jointed elbows. It could be double jointed, but I don't think it is because it is restricted right here. And I think the paint chipped right there somewhere. Let's look at the other side. The other side does chip, and that's what it is. No, but just, I guess just supposed to look like that. I guess like a little bit of error right there. Single jointed elbows right there, and then this part right here is actually molded onto the actual forearm. Forearm swivels. Let's see how the wrist moves pretty good. Now he doesn't he had this attached right here, so he's not going to be able to do a 360 on his arm, and I don't want to do it because I feel like I kind of almost messed up my Rex from doing that, so I would not be doing the whole 360 on the arms, but he can go this high right here. And let's look at the other arm. Looks that high. Pretty decent, I guess, for this. And I don't think he has butterfly joints. It may look like he does, but he doesn't. And then this piece right here, it is a separate piece, and it's not like glued or attached to the torso, which is actually really good. Let's go look at the ab crunch. Very slight. Goes back pretty slight. I mean, I wish I had a little bit more articulation as far, I mean, not articulation, but just the ab crunch. I wish it was a little bit more, but I guess it's decent for what it is. So we're gonna go ahead and look at that thigh. No thighs. Does it have thigh swivel? No thigh swivel. Oh yeah, it does have thigh swivel. You just can't see it on the armor. Thigh swivel right there. I don't want to do the whole 360. I don't want to get it stuck. He does have that ankle, or not the ankle, but the knee swivel right here, which is pretty cool. This little knee pad thing is a separate piece, so it does tend to wiggle around, which it's okay. Single jointed knees. Can we please stop doing single jointed knees for clones? Double jointed knees should be a standard for clones, but whatever. Single jointed knees right there. Pretty disappointed in that, in my opinion. So let's see. Kind of looks a little wonky right here, but whatever. Let's go look at the ankle. It goes up and down. Does it have that weird swivel? Yes, it has that strange swivel that it tends to want to get stuck. Goes up and down pretty good. Overall, I guess the articulation, I don't know, it's really not that great. Don't have anything to compare it to besides the Archive Wave Cody, and I don't know if this is a standard for most clones. Definitely just give it a decent 6.2 out of 10 when it comes to articulation. So we're going to go ahead and look at the details with the accessories put on, and let's go ahead and straight and do that Order 66 look with this Palpatine or Emperor, whatever. He does have 2 trigger hands, so it is going to be somewhat difficult to put this little thing right here. And from the movie, he was holding it with his left hand, so that's how we're going to try to mimic that. And I was going to end up doing a, showcasing it after the fact, but because it does seem a little difficult, I'd rather just show you guys if it can be done and what would be the effects of doing it, because I feel like I'm excessively moving the palm. I'm not sure why they didn't just have a little peg down here and then just had a separate arm piece or hand piece, sorry. But let's see if that doesn't really want to stay. Now, don't know how to really put this. Really don't want to force it. Doesn't really want to do that, so that's a bummer having such a great accessory like that. On the box right here, you guys can see that he is still holding it with his left hand. Now I am trying to mimic that without having to overstretch the fingers, because if you do it over time, or at least leave it like that, I don't know if it would break. I would hope it wouldn't, but I mean, this isn't really staying that well, and I don't know why the designer didn't come up with a better design. Okay, there we go. I think we got it. Yep, we do have it. Hopefully this does not ruin the hand over time. So we do have the classic older 66 look on Cody. So we're gonna go ahead and look at a better detail before he falls off. All right, so here we have the classic order 66 pose. We're finally able to put that in there. Let's go ahead and get a closer look into detail. Order 66 Clone Commander Cody. What a great detailed accessory to have. So let's go ahead and add that blaster in his hand as well, just to have a little bit more detail with the accessories. All right, so here we have Cody with his weapon in his hand. Who's to say that it didn't happen that way? Maybe it didn't in the movie, but in this review, we'll be having the accessories all placed right there. So here we have him with his helmet off, looking at the Order 66 pose right there. Pretty decent in my opinion. Pretty cool. I like that as well. But obviously, we're going to be having it with the helmet on. Overall, not a bad figure for having that piece by itself. All right, so like I mentioned before, I will be doing a slight comparison with the other version of Cody that I have right here. So here we have the Archive Wave Cody, and he does come with a bigger blaster, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I'm not sure if I added this one to it and maybe I put it in a different figure. Maybe he came with a smaller one. I honestly don't remember, but I'm gonna just leave it for how I had it displayed. Now this helmet is non-removable. It's completely molded and attached to the figure, so that's why it looks a little bit more sleeker here and a little bit more bulky in this new wave or this new figure. As you guys can tell, they do have different paint applications. Not sure exactly why, when they're both supposed to portray the same scene. You guys can see that the color is a little bit different in the orange. Not sure if it's portrayed correctly in the camera, but it is slightly different. It does look a little bit more faded in the orange. Not sure exactly if the camera's gonna be able to capture that detail, but you guys can see that the Revenge of the Sith does have a lot of more wear and tear and damages, and just, you know, overall gunk on the armor, versus the Archive Wave is basically sleek, clean, does have some kind of damages on the paint, but for the most part it's basically sleek. I believe it's going to be exactly the same as far as articulation. I'm going to go ahead and put the Revenge of the Sith on the back, and we're going to look at this. So this one is double jointed. You guys can see that it is double jointed, and it does have pins, and then the Revenge of the Sith is pinless. Wow, I don't even remember this. This is actually kind of crazy. I didn't even realize this. Now I kind of want to remove this. So let's go ahead and look at the elbows. So you see it is possible. Double jointed elbows. You guys can see that it is double pinned right there. So maybe you shouldn't get this one. Maybe if you want the accessories, maybe you should get the Revenge of the Sith, or just try to get that Archive Wave. This one came out, I believe, back in either 2020 or 2021. I really don't remember, but double jointed elbows. I cannot believe it. I thought that it could have been single, but is not. You guys can see, and look at his head sculpt, goes all the way down, but I'm not really gonna make a big deal about that. That's because it's just like it's one solid piece, so that's why I was able to do that, and this one obviously cannot. And also, like, the armor part, it's not a separate piece, it's like basically attached to it, versus this one, you guys can see it is a soft rubber. It is slightly separated. This one's part of it. Not sure if that's a pro or con, but overall, you know, I don't know, this is actually pretty crazy. Like, this is a technically an older figure. I'm not sure it being an Archive Wave means that it's gonna, you know, hold a little bit more weight, but I don't know. That's kind of weird that he does have double jointed knees and double jointed elbows. It is pinned. This one is pinless, so this one's technically better. I mean, how realistically you're going to be having Cody without a helmet? But you guys can see that the details and paint is different. The Archive Wave is silver. This is just not painted. And then honestly, if you really look at it, the new one is actually a lot cheaper. Like, it's very flimsy, and this one's a lot firmer, you know. Like, it's crazy. And even like the antenna is a little bit more flimsier, and this one's a lot firmer. It doesn't move as much. Not sure exactly why. Look, that's a lot softer. It is a little harder plastic. um you know, I don't know. It's kind of daunting to find out that this newer figure, it's giving us less. That's why, at least for me, when it comes to collecting, if I can get it at Ross, then I'm getting it at Ross. I'm not gonna be paying so much, but I guess having the ability to remove his helmet is a plus. So because this Cody's essentially better, maybe I should display this one with his helmet off and just having, just being standalone like that. Maybe I should just remove the holocron piece right here and just give it to this version, just because this one's a little bit better, and I'm gonna be keeping this one his helmet on, obviously, because it can't be removed. So that's kind of obvious right there. But overall, pretty shocked to see that this one is double jointed, and honestly the hands pretty much looks the same. The mold could be different. Yeah, I think it is different. This one looks very flat. This one looks like it has more detail. I don't know. I mean, I can't really complain, I guess. And even, the paint scheme, if you guys can see, like, you see how the paint on his form is a little bit weathered right here. This one's straight, but it ends right here. And this one, it doesn't. It goes all the way up. I feel like that's crazy. Like this one, you could see the indentation right here of where the paint would have been, but there's no paint, and this one has paint. So now I feel like I want to nitpick it, but at the same time, I don't want to do that, because then I'm going to be more upset that the older one is essentially better. But I guess it is what it is. Even on the back. So this is the newer one and this is the older one. You guys can see that the back has paint on. I don't even know what this is. This might be for grenades or something. But this little detail right here is painted on a new one. Is not. His backpack, the little cylinder piece here is painted on this one. Is not painted. He even has paint on his knee pads, I guess you could call them. On his knee pads on the back, it has paint, and this one does not. So I don't know, maybe you shouldn't pick this up. Now that I'm comparing both of these, I definitely would prefer getting the archive wave one, just because essentially it seems a lot better. I don't really care too much about having to remove the helmet. Just because you can remove the helmet does not mean that this one should be a bad figure, and just adding a little bit of damage does not excuse it. But I guess it does have this little extra paint on here, this little like numbers or something on here on the shoulder, and the yellow one doesn't have it. But still, that's a little bit of paint is not going to be excusable when it comes to articulation. So honestly, we're going to go ahead and rate this figure. When it comes to articulation, we're going to give it a solid 5 out of 10, only because the Archive Wave Black Series figure is double jointed and this one is not single jointed, but it is pinless. But we're still going to give it a 5 out of 10. When it comes to the accessories, we're going to go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10. I do appreciate the blaster and this little piece right here of Darth Sidious, Palpatine, whatever you want to call him. The helmet, I don't consider that accessories. If it's removable, as part of the figure, so we're not going to count that. I love that box art, definitely a 9 out of 10. I'm a sucker for Revenge of the Sith. I love the movie, saw it in theaters when it first came out, so I'll definitely give that a 9 out of 10. When it comes to the overall figure and the price point, 6 out of 10. And I honestly do not recommend this, only because you could get the same figure right here. Now, I don't know what this figure sells for in the resale market, so that could hinder this opinion just a little bit. But for the most part, if you're able to get this one for a decent price, I think retail at the time could have been like $19.99, because that was like the old price point, or maybe even $22. I really don't remember. I got this so long ago. Like I said, I probably should do another full review on this one, but I already did a review on it, so I don't think I'd be doing that. But anyways, you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what do you guys think of this Clone Commander Cody, and would you guys be picking him up, and which one would you guys prefer? You guys prefer the Archive Wave Cody, or you guys prefer the Revenge of the Sith? Now you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next review video.